Good day, folks. This is Bob here on the Saturday. We live in a topsy-turvy world. We see the Ukraine-Russian war at a stalemate. Lots of people are saying that Russia has got the upper hand, but do remember the US has got its hands full with Taiwan, with Gaza, and is kind of pulling back from this conflict. I, on the other hand, think that winter is still 2 months into because still 2 months of general winter to go. So it's strategic patience. The European Union, on the other hand, has announced a $50 billion package for Ukraine. So come the time, I think Ukraine will be ready to reap the rewards of the strategic patience come this summer. So we'll wait on that. But what's happening domestically, you have a war on another front that's been as you can see in the Haryana Punjab border. It's kind of insane. The number of gas canisters that have been dropped on unsuspecting Kisans from drones. Never heard of that before. Recently, a young youth Kisan killed with a bullet through the head. That's also not heard about before. I think that, and it's now beginning to be heard all over the world. You're seeing it in BBC, you're seeing it in CBC, you're seeing it in the parliament in the United Kingdom. So this is going global. And then you have this, because if X has to come out and say that, you know that something is amiss globally. X reveals Delhi asked it to block handles most pro-farm protests. Asked by government to block posts on farm protest, says X. Compiled, but our order violates rights to speech, and they filed a writ petition in the Indian courts. Not only that, apparently this action has only been done in India, and these handles are available globally. Farm unions reject government offer to link MSP and crop diversification. Absolutely. Actually, you can't force them into this. You basically have to give a bouquet of MSPs and let the farmers decide, because if it all depends on soil, it depends on climatic conditions before they decide to take the leap of faith, right? More unions join stir up ante over farmers' death. And he says the minimum support, as Pushpinder Singh writes, NSP is what farmers need to remain in business. Giving it legal backing will benefit all stakeholders. He says some economists argue that if the MSP is legally enforced, the private sector won't purchase the crops and all the produce will have to be bought by the government. Farmers are seeking an enforcement of the price only for those entities that willingly enter the market. In case of sugarcane, for example, the price is prescribed by the government, but that hasn't meant the private mills have stopped purchasing sugarcane. Have industries closed down to the minimum wage act? Is nobody purchasing petrol and diesel because the government is charging exorbitant taxes? He has a point, right? How MSP says, this is Harish Damodaran. Price assurances for farmers is necessary for promoting crop diversification, serves consumer interest. He says, MSP is a means for insulating farmers from low prices, which may incidentally reduce planting in the following year, engendering a fresh round of volatility. But MSP can also help promote crop diversification. We want Punjab farmers to cultivate less paddy and wheat and divert the area to maize, cotton, oilseed, pulses and horticulture crops. But why would they? Sans any price assurance for the latter. Farmers are ultimately producers, not traders or stock investors. The income comes primarily from what they grow, on which there's no certainty of yield between the time of sowing and harvesting. This must be remembered. And like I said, serious stress. CBI searches premises of ex-governor Malik in JK Hydel project case. So this is a case filed against Malik, who actually filed a case saying there was corruption, right? And see this. Can you see that? That is essentially, folks, when 50 lakh vie for 60,000 posts in railways in UP. But now let's come to foreign policy on our borders. The border between Haryana and Punjab looks like it's at war, but the one that should look like a border, China doesn't, looks like soft, and China keeps walking in. And Pakistan, hey, another thing happening there. The many political cloaks of Pakistan Army says, like previous occasions, Pakistan Army is working towards determining the outcome of the elections beforehand and whom to hand over power, which they tried, right? But he sprung a surprise. Who did? Finally, Pak gets new government. Naturally, new troubles begin. Sharif Zardari Bhutto coalition is on tricky wicket. Imran's PTI will likely clear the pitch, expect little change in New Delhi Islamabad ties. This is General Hussain. Pak to suffer with army weaker, Imran stronger. That's absolutely true. Former PM will not be allowed to control a narrative in the country to the detriment of army's reputation and stability of new government. The general's Raj, that's what it is, as C. Raja Mohan writes. Whoever wins in Pakistan's election, Army Chief Asim Munir is in charge. But this may be a crown of thorns. It absolutely is. The betting will be that Munir will win for now and pick up a prime minister of his choice, but that is when his problems will begin. For one, Imran Khan has shown that army's perch at the top of Pakistan's political heap is no longer sacrosanct. He has emboldened the expanding urban classes at home and the diaspora abroad to challenge his authority. Munir has presented himself as the champion of long overdue but painful economic reforms that the political class has been unwilling to touch. But will he be able to bell the cat? Only we know. But for us, the same old enemy. This is this movie called The Fighter, and you have Hrithik Roshan and this all that. I don't really feel like watching this because Pakistan really is not the real enemy. It's just the same old thing, the same old enemy, and it's not going to come out and have a full-scale war with us, right? Anatomy of a flare-up, it says Tilak Diveshwar. Pakistan response to Iran was determined by army's compulsion not to appear weak. Clearly, Iran miscalculated Pakistan's reaction. The one thing Pakistan cannot afford is an impression that despite being Islamic world's only nuclear power, it is actually too weak to defend its sovereignty. Like Iran, the Pakistan army also has strong domestic compulsions. Pak set for another selection. He says army managed Pakistan poll 5 years back and got Imran in. Now he's been put in jail and Nawaz is army's choice. One more IMF bailout looms. And what do we have? Imran bowled out, Nawaz back in favor, Zardari jockeying too, master puppeteer, strike counter strike, Pakistan Frankenstein monster, snake pit, tanking economy, cursed democracy. On the other side, bigger worry, Myanmar, not just for us but for Bangladesh. Myanmar situation worrying for Dhaka, Delhi, Bangladesh foreign minister. Free movement to end along Myanmar border. India monitors battle near Sitwe, the port crucial to northeast trade. But that corridor is never going to open. Engaging with Myanmar Janta. Delhi needs to be more proactive in nudging Naypyidaw to restore democracy. India should be more proactive in nudging the Janta to restore democracy, which will also help to check China's influence over the military. Important, right? Skidding of fallout, Myanmar may be forced to ground Chinese aircraft. Chinese aircraft assembled by Pakistan, whatever. In deep crisis. So like I said, all their air force, etc., or the platforms they are making, are they tested? Well, Myanmar is trying them out, not really working very well. Concerned about deteriorating Myanmar situation, says government. Myanmar plane on mission to fly back soldiers crashes in Mizoram. Like I said, snapshots of turbulence destroy Sanjoy Hazarika. He says there is a bristling Myanmar context to decisions on building a border fence ending free movement regime. Recently, the centre urged all Indians in Rakhine Strait as the Arkan army surged to leave as it was highly unsafe. India has not retreated from its support to the army dispensation in Myanmar. Yet, Delhi needs to heed conditions on the ground. Rebel armed groups, some of which have been fighting the Myanmar army for over 70 years, are unlikely to be able to march on the capital of Naypyidaw. Yet, those controlling parts of Chin State are the new reality of the neighborhood. Do we know that? Will deport post 1961 immigrants, Manipur, says CM. So I'm assuming he's the person who least understands and the situation in Manipur, even though we don't hear about it, is as bad as it can get. India, Sri Lanka, Maldives drill kickoff as Chinese vessel docks near Malé. Myanmar, Maldives, China. Key US officials seizes up issue. So now David Liu is actually looking at our and what is he saying? He says Donald Lu, US Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asia, has hailed Sri Lanka as an example of the success of the administration's Indo-Pacific strategy in collaboration with partners such as India, but warned both Delhi and Dhaka that the security situation born out of the Rohingya refugee crisis and the general instability in Myanmar will worsen and continue to have implications for neighbors. He says, Lu said the US was a big force in the Indian Ocean, but India was a much bigger force in the region. Like I said, it took massive effort from the United States to pull Sri Lanka slightly out of the clutches of China. You need to use the United States in both Nepal and in Maldives to do the same. Chinese survey ship to enter Malé port today. Amid Beijing tilt, Malé seeks to train more bureaucrats in India. Balancing Muizu talks of Indian troops withdrawal in House speech. Maldives ignores India, lets Chinese spy vessel dock. China Maldives relationship, Muizu in deep water, writes T.S. Tirumurthy. Maldivian president has invited Chinese to India's doorstep. He is quoting financial and security debt load that will end up sinking whatever independence his country has left. Maldives opposition set to move motion to impeach President Muizu. The opposition is strong, which is pro-India. So we haven't lost a game yet. Chinese Vice Premier pays quiet visit to Malé. Indian military personnel will start moving out of Maldives next month. Chinese spy vessel headed to Malé, India. Close watch on ship movement. Beijing claims it is an ocean research vessel. India keeps close watch on Chinese research vessel heads to Maldives. Lanka refused permission for dual-use ship to dock at one of its ports. Like I said, Sri Lanka pulled back from the brink. Maldives opposition party set to move impeachment motion against Muizu. India, Maldives agree on workable solution for operating 3 aircraft. Basically, apparently, HAL representatives are being put in, right? Red lines in neighborhood. On Maldives ties with China, India must send out a clear message. However, the neighbors are clearly finding it impossible to overlook Chinese overtures even while emphasizing their links with India. The neighborhood situation does not present a comforting picture for India, including in the security sector, right? Muizu's anti-India stand may further dent Maldives' economy. Louder cry in Malé for Indian troops recall. Pro-China Yamin ups ante as Maldives President Muizu faces parliament probe over kids. But do remember this. The echo chamber is Malé, just Malé, not the other island. So you've got to control the echo chamber in Malé and create sufficient noise to counter this noise, right? India will withdraw military by May 10th, Muizu says in April. Maldives seeks India's reply on Coast Guard's activities. China displaces India's largest tourism market for Maldives. This is what happens. That should not have happened. You continue doing that business. You continue being at the top. You don't go like all the actors running up and down and running foreign policy for us, right? India lays out red carpet for JVP leadership ahead of Sri Lanka polls. Indian sub in Lanka. So Lanka is back from the brink. Sri Lanka's debt trap shows that many perils of China's gift diplomacy, and Maldives should understand that. And the neighborhood where I read you a report from Foreign Policy that creeping, China is eating up Bhutanese land. So we really need to be careful. And so do the Bhutanese. Bhutanese PM keen to visit India to discuss new areas of cooperation. Nepal is finding out to its detriment about interference in domestic policy. Nepal's Home Minister orders crackdown following interference by Chinese envoy. Concerns escalate in Nepal over Chinese BRI claims. So this is what is going to be important for us, right? BRI claims. We've got to be out there and telling the public the reality. Prime Minister to visit Qatar after UAE trip. Qatar frees 8 former Indian Navy men. PM will go to Doha tomorrow. Amid Red Sea crisis, India gets a specific zone in Dukam port. Now about Qatar, right? It's kind of strange what's happening in Qatar because nobody really knows what actually happened, because somebody says when case veiled in secrecy, veterans won't need to serve sentence in India. Freed by Qatar only because of PM's personal intervention. Navy veterans, proof of PM guarantee not to desert any Indian. That's just making hogwash of a situation. No clue why we were held in Qatar, ex-officer. This says a lot, right? This says a lot because I can't understand for what they were held, right? Is this a new, a situation that was trying to be created that to show us as Vishwaguru? I don't know. Modi conveys deep appreciation to Qatari Emir for release of 8 Indians. Now things are getting hairy and scary for everybody in this area, right? Which was supposed to be the future of our IMEC, right? Breaking news, drone strike kills 3 US soldiers in Jordan. White House says 3 US soldiers were killed and 25 others were injured in a drone strike by an Iran-backed militia in Jordan. US approves strike against Iran target in Iraq and Syria. Biden sanctions 4 Israeli settlers over West Bank violence, and it's finally been declared that West Bank the occupation is illegal as which was approved by Trump, but is being reversed by Biden. Challenging the Indian Ocean, piracy, Gaza war, and rising Chinese power stretching the Navy's capabilities, Delhi needs to augment its capability. That's the important part. Spend more money on the Navy. Houthi hit on Russian crude, forces traders to assess risks. India Navy rescues hijacked Iranian ship. Biden vows to retaliate after deadly strike at Jordan base. Iran denies role. Chess with bombs. This is important. He says a short attempt to explain the infernally complex and deadly chessboard of West Asia. Tensions in West Asia turned up a notch with Pakistan attacking alleged Baloch separatists inside Iran. This comes after Iran earlier this week attacked Sunni militants group Jaish al-Adi in Pakistan and Balochistan. Tehran also launched missile strikes against what it says was an Israeli espionage center in Iraqi Kurdistan and Islamic State terror base in Syria. These may lead to a larger regional conflagration. Balochistan to Levant. The latest strikes show that the entire region from Pakistan's border through Arabian Sea Gulf till Gaza is now a zone of various degrees of conflict. What started with the Israel-Hamas war has spread with Houthi attacks on Red Sea shipping and low-level transnational strikes by principal actors. And trouble starts, right? Kin of hostage, storm Israel parliament, Bibi clarifies no solid offer from Hamas, US taking attacks at Iraq base seriously, says White House. EU pushes Israel on two-state solution after war in Gaza. Jay Shankar pushes for a two-state solution to end Israel-Hamas war. 24 soldiers killed in Gaza in Israel's worst one-day loss. Gaza death toll soars as Bibi rejects Palestinian state again. Israeli rejection of peace will backfire. And why this is important? Why Gulf remains top priority for Modi? It's important. The Gulf countries, including Iran, are an important and reliable source of oil and gas for India, supplying around 60% of India's oil needs. Qatar is India's largest source of both LNG and LPG. A part of India's extended neighborhood, the GCC bloc is overall India's largest trading partner. UAE is India's third largest trading partner, followed by Saudi Arabia. Given the large Muslim community in India, it also serves New Delhi's interest to have strong ties with the Arab world. The presence of some of these friendly states also helps dilute to an extent the Pakistani-sponsored anti-India agenda in the GCC. Abu Dhabi enhances Ayodhya, Joy says PM opens UAE temple. But here's what you got to hear, right, when you see this. Abu Dhabi has a message for Delhi. UAE, Saudi Arabia are moving towards expanding space for non-Muslim. This will affect terms of debate over India's secular ethos. And then behind UAE temple, a legacy of pluralism. He says, of course, many of the policies mentioned above may be criticized while scrutinizing them in specific detail, but it is inconvertible that this represents a clear ethical and moral commitment against zealotry, hate and division. This is the context in which a marvelous Hindu temple of exquisite architectural and civilization value has come up in Abu Dhabi. And do remember something which I find very common. Both why is this particular dispensation so happy with the Arab community, and why we wonder the Arab community doesn't say anything about our the atrocities against our Muslims, unless it reaches the level of the Quran or of the Prophet Muhammad. The reason is, I think both of them don't think very highly of South Asian Muslims. Both of them, India and that, right? So what do you have there? Attacks by Houthis pose big threat to free trade, says UK Navy chief. India-UAE relations look beyond diaspora, absolutely. Security emerging as crucial element, that is Indo-Pacific, that comes out, that does that. India-UAE Inc. pacts on linking digital payment platforms and trade and energy. India-UAE Inc. 8 pacts on electricity digi payments. India-UAE partners in progress as Modi. Absolutely, folks. This is the area, but it is in making giant leaps and steps India is making as far as the Middle East is concerned. But it is going to have to carry a lot more weight if it wants this to fructify. 3 cheers and Jai Hind.